The safari park was now in its final stage of preparation, meaning that small adjustments to existing zones were made by flying over and exchanging different dinosaurs. A family of T-Rex had been flown over near the park for inspection. Their roars could be heard in the distance. Though they were modified and administered to be apparently docile, one could see that it made some of the other dinosaurs very nervous. They could sense that an apex was close by. Before the T-Rex would be moved to the Allosaurus pen, as the size of that area fitted them better, a few herbivores would be migrated first. The current Triceratops zone was so big that easily more creatures could be added. One of the scientists advised to move several Stegosaurs over, as he saw something very peculiar on the listings coming from Site 10, Location E. Still all this time, there had been no word from the one scientist who went over there. The Stegosaurus that were transported to the Triceratops zone, which was now a mixed one, were easy to please. Overall, the Stegosaurus was a sluggish but happy type of dinosaur. The large plates on its back ranged from many different beautiful colors. Though the plating served multiple functions, it was partly used for the mating process to impress a potential mate. The Triceratops also did not seem to mind their new neighbors, and everything continued peacefully. Then in the following week, the transport of the T-Rex couple would take place. But one particular head ranger had an insane idea that he quickly found support for. Since they had proven in the past with the docile carnivores that they would not attack cars, would it also be possible to let carnivores loose in environments with pedestrians without anyone in actual danger? Though many agreed that this could be potentially a brilliant attraction, giving photo opportunities or even chances to pet the predators, some argued that this would need to be tested with smaller carnivores first. But the head ranger disagreed. He said that if it could be proven that large carnivores like the T-Rex or Spinosaurus could be amongst pedestrians, then logically, smaller ones would prove no issues as well. One of the T-Rex were put right outside the cage at the staff facility area. Many of the staff had assembled at the point of deployment to see the T-Rex from this close. They were excited, albeit a bit scared, as one could never know what would exactly happen. Once the dinosaur dropped, its movement scared the people away, even causing some of the staff to faint. But lo and behold, the prediction worked. The T-Rex, instead of going after people to eat, first wanted a nap and laid itself down on the sun-warmed paved road. Once it woke up, it headed over to a public area. The audience was made aware of this operation, and those who were too frightened to share the same space with this carnivore were moved elsewhere for the time being. Everyone kept a safe distance, but the T-Rex never showed any aggressiveness to a human being. It almost seemed to not acknowledge them. This was a fascinating discovery, and one that surely would make the park millions of dollars, as people could now come up and close with even the predators. The one security risk that they did have to think about was that people needed to stay clear of the dinosaur's stomping feet to avoid getting crushed. If it would get startled and run in a frantic panic, the consequences could still be very bad. That's why there was some tension when it needed to be tranquilized again, but luckily, they were able to sedate it without anyone getting trampled. The transportation of the T-Rex couple would be quite the undertaking, as the Allosaurus would need to be moved too. As the helicopters were already inbound, the single Allosaurus was sedated and ready to be moved out. There had been some debates on what the perfect location was. Because the Allosaurus was created without any docile administrations, it could not be housed together with other predators or small herbivores. Therefore, and to save space, it was decided to put the Allosaurus with the Ankylodocus hybrids. The herbivores were too big for the Allosaurus to attack, which meant that the piece would be kept in its new home. The Allosaurus was very confused when it first woke up. Though most transportations have been relatively smooth, it was a few days of tension to see if the Allosaurus would even eat. If it was too stressed, it might refuse to do so and die. But luckily, the Allosaurus seemed to understand that the two hybrids in there would not attack it, and when they let their guard down, the Allosaurus did so too, and adapted. With the Allosaurus cozy in its new home, the two T-Rexes could finally be moved. The original Allosaurus pen was so large that some argued that the T-Rex could share this space with some other creatures, especially since they were so docile. But the T-Rex was a 5-star attraction. Some thought it unwise to share it with others, as their shine would be taken away. The park rangers promised to discuss in the end if changes would need to be made if they ran out of space. The T-Rex couple inadvertently was put right past the Baryonyx couple, making this part of the route have a nickname called Romance Street. The distinct difference in color pattern made it easy for customers and staff to understand who was who. Over time, the differences in attitude and personality would make the creatures feel more attachable to the audience. They were beautiful, enormous, and as friendly as a puppy. Signs still needed to be put up to stay at a safe distance in terms of their feet, but all in all, they were a giant success. Next up was the area after the Triceratops and Stegosaurus zone. As this particular area was a bit smaller, it was the turn for the tiny kind to get moved here as well, almost working as a cooling down towards the end of the route. Something cute, like the Dracorex, would fit perfectly in this environment, though some worried that it was actually too small and would need to be combined with something else. Maybe something like a Stigmalog and a Pachycephalosaurus. But before the head staff could decide on what exactly the furthest pen would be made up of, word got out that a new hybrid was signaled for transportation. It came as a surprise as it was not written down during that week's schedule. It turned out that there were early signs on the documents that were sent from Site 10, Location E, about a hybrid that existed from Stegosaurus and Triceratops DNA. This explained why the scientists opted for this combination in the park. The so-called Stegoceratops was on its way and would need to receive housing within the safari park. Where the Ankylodocus hybrid was very subtle, this creature was anything but. It made some people worried about what other hybrids the minds at Site 10 could come up with.